Hello, you're listening to Storytelling Saga, the podcast that shares stories. I'm your host, Allie, and this week is my birthday. The day this episode is released, January 20th, and I am in my late 20s. I basically, I don't want to say my age exactly, but I've kind of already basically said my age without overtly saying it, but birthdays are a lot of fun. For me personally, they're more fun. I hate saying and sounding like a jaded adult, but to me it was always more fun as a kid, because as a kid it would be a birthday party with your family members and then a birthday party with all of your classmates and friends, and then bringing in treats at school. And then as you get older, I do appreciate, though, just like simple things like just going out to dinner. That's just a nice way to celebrate your birthday, too. But for me, just when I was younger, it was just much more fun and exciting. And then you go home, you open all your presents. So it was just a whole big fun experience celebrating your birthday. And for us, we had a great tradition when we were younger that I have a younger brother and younger sister, so whenever it was one of our birthdays, we would all go to Toys R Us, and the birthday girl or boy would get 2 presents, and then each of us, the siblings, we would get 1 present. And that was something that my mom had done with her siblings, so my grandparents, they did that. So that's just really cute, keeping those traditions alive. So we would always go with our dad. And it was just an experience. We would go to the Toys R Us, and there was this ramp. We would just run up the ramp. And literally, it's like that anticipation of running up the ramp, the excitement of going to Toys R Us. And I guess with kids in general, they prefer surprises. And maybe saying this now, maybe you're thinking, wait, so you guys picked out your own presents? Yes, we did, and we loved it. We loved doing that. And then it was just fun because then the siblings, we each got a toy when it was our sibling's birthday. So then it made it fun for everyone. It wasn't just like, oh, the birthday girl or boy gets presents, how come we don't get presents? So that's why they did that. So it just made it fun and fair, but then the birthday kid gets 2 presents. So I just, to me it's a fun tradition. We loved that. And so these memories, I'm just lighting up because it's just things that are just, they're just in your memories, just these cherished memories to look back on fondly. But what's funny is that Toys R Us, R.I.P., except apparently there's still one, I believe, if I'm remembering that correctly. It's been bought out again. But Toys R Us is gone pretty much, but I guess there maybe are some still standing, some actual Toys R Us stores. But the one we went to is long gone. But what's funny is that the last time we went to Toys R Us, I went with my brother and my brother's friend, and we went a couple years ago, and we were looking for board games. So then I just told my brother, you gotta park in the garage. We always had to park in the garage. We had to run up the ramp, and then, I just ran up the ramp just for the sake of doing that, since I hadn't done that in years and years. And it's not the same. I will see, it's not the same as an adult, and my goodness. And also the Toys R Us, it was no wonder it went out of business. That's all I will say. It was busy though, but we looked for board games. We didn't find anything good. It was just a disappointment. Oh my goodness. And then at one point I was just let me look at the toy section. I'm just curious. Well, the whole thing's toys, but there's an electronics section, things like that. So I went over by the dolls and things, so I was curious just to see the selection, and I was looking around and I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness, toys today. I hate saying stuff like that though. I don't want to sound like, oh, things were better then, but that's just my feeling of it, just in that moment of when we went to the toy store, and just, it's not the same as when you were a kid, and the rush of excitement, and just, of course, when you're just a little kid and running up that ramp, oh my goodness. So that's just one of many fond childhood memories, going to Toys R Us to pick out our birthday presents. And then birthday parties, always a blast, but a lot of birthday parties I had growing up were arts and crafts parties. I always loved arts and crafts, to the point where, in fact, my very first career aspiration, I remember this in 1st grade when we had to write what we wanted to be when we grew up. And I wrote, I want to be an arts and crafts teacher. So take from that what you will. It's just so funny. But yeah, I always loved arts and crafts. We would do arts and crafts when I was in Girl Scouts. We would do things like that. And also just over my friend's house. Like every once in a while, her mom would just get crafts for us, like things to paint and stuff. So it was always so much fun. And so for my 9th birthday, for instance, we made our own mini easels, and I still have mine. And we just did layers. Like we each picked a color of paint, and then we did like splotches, just layers of different paint colors, kind of making it look like tie-dye. And then another year we made gumball machines for another birthday party of mine. That may have been the year before, I believe. And those were a lot of fun. And then we painted our own gumball machines, and everyone wrote the price of what they would want the gumballs to be, 25 cents, 50 cents, whatever, and then filled it up with gumballs. And when I was really young, we would do parties like at the Fun Zone, things like that, which I believe those aren't around anymore either. That kind of stuff. My brother, his parties, he loved the arcade. He would do that. We did that at least one year, maybe more than once. Also, there was this place with these race car toys. There was a party there one year. Also, laser tag. That may have been a couple different years. And my sister, one year, she had a dance party. That was a lot of fun. I remember another year, there was a magician. That may have been also because magicians, that was also at my communion. I remember that. But that too, it's so much fun when you're a kid, and then things like that when you get older. For instance, with the magician, if you recall that trick when they would have a coloring book and then they would flip through the pages and it would be blank pages, and then it would be pages with just pictures with no colors in them yet, and then all the pictures that were painted and things like that. And so when you're a kid, you think, the magic, like, oh, how did that happen? How did these pictures just appear? And then years later you realize, oh, it's just the person, they're flipping to the exact pages, like every third page. See, things like that, I don't want, I've already sounded like, oh, the magic's gone. I don't want to feel that way, but that's just how I'm feeling, though, reminiscing about this stuff when you're a little kid. Also, I remember as we got older, another year, I don't even remember whose birthday party this was, but it may have been my friend's or my sister's. I generally don't remember, but I remember one year at someone's party, there was a Britney Spears impersonator. And at that point, my friends and I, we just all knew. It's like, you're really the real Britney Spears. We just knew. It's just funny how kids, like, you can only trick them for so long. Even when it comes to things like Santa Claus, Easter Bunny, that's just really funny. Oh my goodness. But what I always really loved about birthday parties, though, I loved the preparation of it. I used to love making goodie bags for my friends, like just so excited, like, oh, everyone's gonna get goodie bags, and baking cupcakes and the frosting. When I was really young, kindergarten, I used to just eat the frosting, and then that was it. And then I was like, I'm done with this cupcake. Oh my gosh. But goodness. And then many birthday parties for myself too, and for many of my friends. We would have birthday parties at the bowling alley, and it was so much fun. They would just light up all the lanes. If you were wearing a white t-shirt, then your shirt would be like glowing blue, and then the bowling shoes, the shoelaces would be glowing. It was just so much fun. They'd be blasting the music, and since we were young kids, they had the gutter lanes up so that no one ever would get a strike. You know, things for kids. It's just cute. And then as I got older, I mentioned my 10th birthday party when I shared sleepover stories, because that's when I had a sleepover with a bunch of my friends. That was a lot of fun. And then my 21st birthday was an absolute blast. And I didn't get wasted. I just didn't want that. It just would have been gross. So I'm glad, like, you know, I drank, of course, but it wasn't over the top where I was getting sick or I was hungover or anything like that. And I had a big group that came with me. My cousins came down and a few of my friends from high school, which was so nice, and a bunch of my college friends. So that was just such a blast. And my cousin curled my hair. I wore a 21 crown, like this light up crown with 21 on it. I was dancing. It was just an absolute blast. And I remember too, in high school, my friends would bring, like, whenever it was someone's birthday, people would just bake for people. So that was so sweet. So one year they surprised me and I had all these cupcakes and a cake. It was just very sweet. I remember also one year a girl wrapped my locker. That was really sweet of her too. Like, just little nice surprises. That just makes you feel special on your birthday. So that's what it's all about. Just, like making yourself feel special and celebrating you and your day of birth, that you are a gift to the world. It's celebrating you, so it's just is all really nice thinking about all of that stuff. So I wouldn't say I have necessarily a favorite birthday party, but just in general, just looking back on all these memories, always so much fun, always so happy and an absolute blast. I'm so fortunate. Just thinking about all that now really is wonderful, truly. And what would always be nice too is that after the party, coming back home and then opening presents, that was always so much fun. And then as I got older too, a few of my friends would just be at my house too. And I remember one year, my one friend surprised me. She got me a lava lamp. I remember that, and it was so cool. It would just glow purple. It was really cool. I just really liked it. That was just a random gift now I'm remembering. And then I remember opening it, and she's like, oh, kitty socks. Like, she got me socks with kitties on them. That's adorable. Oh, man, I wish I could remember other gifts now as I'm thinking of that. But that's just one I randomly remembered now for some reason. Well, obviously, when you're younger, getting toys and things like that. As I've gotten older, I've gotten things like jewelry, that kind of stuff. And I always love the birthday traditions of making a wish and you blow out the candles and cutting the first slice of cake and smearing your name. I would do that too. I still do that. I love stuff like that too, just those little traditions of making a wish, and since it's your special day, your wish will come true. So yeah, it's just nice to feel special on your birthday with just your family and friends. It's so wonderful and so sweet. So thank you for taking the time to celebrate my birthday with me this year by listening to me just rant about past birthdays from when I was a kid and now as an adult, just another year older, hopefully another year wiser, and just being so grateful. I think it's also a nice thing too to just treat yourself, whether you treat yourself to a nice lunch or maybe splurge on something you've been wanting to buy. Oh, and something else though, my family, when we would sing happy birthday, my dad is just so funny with that because he sings it so slowly, not in the typical upbeat tempo of happy birthday. That's just really funny to me too. So I love traditions, things like that with birthdays in particular, because then it's things you can carry on with our families, just keeping those traditions alive. So I did love that, just getting to buy 2 toys on my birthday and then my siblings each buying a toy. And that stuff too, I'm trying to remember things I would buy. I used to love Polly Pocket toys, like those different kind of Polly Pocket toys, besides those really small ones, but also those ones where you could dress them up and they had all of those rubbery clothes. I had a bunch of those. I remember I had Hello Kitty toys. I used to always love Barbie dolls. So many different Barbie dolls, so many Barbie doll figurines and all the little accessories I loved. Ones with makeup, ones with all little foods. And then as I got older, I loved when going to the video game section of, like, the electronic section of Toys R Us and getting a new Game Boy Color game, things like that. I loved that kind of stuff as well. And it just always made your birthday all the more exciting, like, oh, waiting for your birthday to get the toy you've been dying for, things like that. And since my birthday a month or so after Christmas, then by then always wanting something new, always a new toy. And I still have a bunch of Beanie Babies too. I donated a lot of them, but I still have a small collection. And every month my grandma got me a new Beanie Baby. She signed me up for this Beanie Baby of the Month thing, so that was a cute thing she did too. Just all these really sweet things. I mean, also getting cash is a nice thing too, from each of my grandparents, my mom's side and my dad's side, getting a nice crisp $50 bill. Like, oh yes, thank you. That's wonderful too. Not gonna lie, who doesn't love that? That's fantastic. So happy birthday to me. And with that is going to conclude this week's episode of Storytelling Saga. You can follow the podcast on Facebook and Instagram at Storytelling Saga, as well as on Twitter at Storytell Saga. You can also send me any questions, comments, or writing prompts by leaving me a message in the contact section of storytellingsaga.com or by sending me an email at storytellingsaga@gmail.com. Next week, I sold flowers I didn't sell myself, Now you've made a lady of me, I'm not fit to sell anything else. I'll be discussing Pygmalion. Until then, thank you for listening, and remember, write what you love.